Alrighty, putting this together. It's shotguns for a working man. The criteria I selected for this is the guns had to be in current production. They had to be versatile enough where you could use them as a home defense gun or a field gun. They had to be chambered in ammunition that was commonly available. Now, the most common shotgun ammunition is going to be 12, and a close second will be 20 gauge. You can get these in birdshot, which the one on your right, the red cartridge is a 12 gauge, the one on your left is a 20 gauge. The 12 gauge is the more common one. The 20 gauge is pretty common itself. You can get a wide variety of loads in each of those gauges that can cover just about anything you want to do. The 20 gauge is slightly smaller than the 12. With shotguns, gauges, the bigger the number, the smaller the shell, and it's an old measuring system. It has to do with how many lead balls you can put down the bore of the gun. And it's kind of confusing to get into in detail. The first one for your consideration is the Remington 870. This one has a synthetic stocks and it has a 22-inch barrel. With a shotgun, modern ammunition, you're going to burn up most of your powder in your first 18 inches of barrel. So you're probably not going to get a big ballistic advantage as far as velocity going from a 22-inch barrel to a longer barrel. May not help your patterns. Probably going to be more dependent on what chokes you use. The Remington uses its own proprietary threaded chokes. Carlson's and several other manufacturers make aftermarket chokes that are available for it. The full choke is in the shotgun. We've got an improved cylinder, which is your loosest. Modified, which is kind of in between the full, and then your tightest is the turkey tube here. Up until Remington's last bankruptcy, you could get these guns at a good price. They are a workhorse gun for decades, and you could get choke tubes, aftermarket accessories, and barrels fairly commonly. They did, however, bring the 870s back in both 12 and 20 gauge as the Field Master right now. And they're running about $500 to $600. That sounds expensive on the surface until you realize that's a shotgun you can do almost anything with. And your different barrel lengths are getting back onto the market. Our least expensive guns, probably going to be this Stevens 320. I bought this as a combo. I have several other ones, including the 20 gauge we'll get to in just a minute. I've used these guns for turkey hunting. I've shot deer with them. I've used slugs and buckshot for big game. I've used just a regular full choke and killed turkeys with it. This one, you can get just the shotgun and a single barrel for about $200 at any of your big box stores, including Walmart. However, even if you have a concealed weapons permit, you buy a firearm from Walmart, their corporate policy is to make you wait 3 days. One drawback to this gun is that buying extra barrels on it, as far as I know, is not available. You're going to get what you buy with the gun. So I've got a 28-inch barrel for it for field use. And I've got the 18.5-inch barrel for hunting with specific ammunition like slugs. It's a good home defense barrel because it's short. And I've also used the Federal Flight Control buckshot out of this cylinder bore choke. The short barrel has a fixed cylinder bore, so there's no constriction in it. And what you do is you make the right choice on what choke you want to use, which barrel you want to use according to what you're going to do with it. The farthest shot I'm going to take inside my house with a shotgun is going to be well under 15 yards. The rule of thumb with a cylinder bore barrel and a load of buckshot is you're going to get about 1 inch of spread for every yard. So even with this cylinder bore choke, if I use it in a home defense scenario, I'm still looking at less than a 15-inch pattern. If I have the Flight Control buckshot in it, probably looking about a 6-inch pattern or less. The longer barrel, and I touched on this with the 870, does not give you any ballistic advantage with modern shot shell ammunition. What it does help you do in the field is it helps you have a smoother swing as a rule and allows you to be on target a little bit more effortlessly. I've hunted with these guns, even though this is the cheapest one in the bunch, I've still found it to be well above satisfactory. All 3 or 4 of these guns I'm going to show have proven themselves over the field use, home defense use. The third one for consideration, and this is a little more expensive than the 320, but a lot less expensive than the 870s, the Mossberg 500. The Mossberg 500 and the 320 use the same threading and pattern for the chokes. So even though I've had the Mossberg 500 here for 30 years, and pretty much all it's had in it was the full choke, I do have the option to change it out. These are 312 gauges, and I found them to be very satisfactory. I would say satisfactory to well above excellent. The other option I have here to look at is the Stevens 320 in 20 gauge. It has a 26-inch barrel and a screw-in choke. There's 2 advantages, in my opinion, the 20 gauge has over the 12. Number one, it's about 2/3 the weight of a 12 gauge in the same model shotgun. I've been fighting back problems for the last 2 years, severely, and a lot of times, rather than carry one of my 12 gauges, I opt for the 20 gauge, particularly since I've found the number 1 buckshot loads in it. This one has a screw-in choke, so we got a lot of versatility. You also have lighter recoil in the lighter gun. So all 3 of these guns are chambered for 2 3/4 or 3-inch shells. So you can do just about anything that you want to do with it, from shooting light loads at clay pigeons or small game, shooting your heavier loads for turkey loads, your buckshot and slug loads for big game. I was going to put some single shots in this selection. This is why I disqualified them. While they make excellent field guns, and somebody who shoots them on a regular basis can reload them and get a second shot off quickly, It's not nearly as quick as somebody with that same level of skill can shoot a pump gun and get follow-up shots. These are 3 options, really 4, that would make good home defense guns and good field guns. Now, they each have their advantages and disadvantages. I've used all 4 of these quite a bit. I found it to be enjoyable to shoot. And a lot of these are very reliable. They all have synthetic stock, so it makes them very tough and holds up to rough environments. Today it's raining and cold, and if it was a day that I was going to get out and hunt a little bit, most likely one of these guns would be the one that got the call. So we look at these, we see some of the advantages and disadvantages of each one, and hopefully it gives some people some insight when they make their selections on one. Later on,